put in the podcast, but yeah, okay.
Okay, I guess maybe structure for today. Okay, let me like lock in a little bit mentally. I got too relaxed. I was like trying to be not relaxed, and then I got too relaxed. I think I have to lock in a little more.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let's lock in. We can talk about what we're gonna do this week.
Yeah, I guess maybe like
That we love before we
wait, let me introduce this. Let me do like a
Okay.
let me introduce
Okay.
the whole, because we didn't even do an introduction to the podcast. We just started talking. So
No. Yeah.
okay. Hi everybody, and welcome to Critical Cartoon Theory with Jonni and EXYL, a subsidiary of Transfiguration International Film Festival. Welcome to this episode 2 of it. And basically, we already were talking a lot about a lot of different things, and we forgot to introduce it, and now I'm introducing it. And I feel like, how do we set up what we were talking about?
Oh, I was just going to say that I was also thinking about the purpose of this podcast, and I think that both of us have a lot of latent knowledge of animation, and we interact with it a lot. Like, I spend most of my life thinking about it, making it, interacting with people who are from it in different capacities, like doing screenings, watching films, making them. It's like a huge part of my life. So I feel like this podcast is like a way for me to hold myself accountable to the assumptions that I might have, and to also interrogate this body of knowledge that I've like latently accumulated in the back of my head, and to actually ask myself, what are the missing gaps in this knowledge, and how do we come to a more truthful understanding of where animation is placed and how we can wield it. Especially because you and I, we do this festival together, Transfiguration, and it's not like an innocent festival. We don't do it just because it's fun. We do it with like our own agenda in mind.
We have like a
so
political
to me,
goal.
I feel like, yeah. So
have, like, very
to me,
specific
I'm
political
like,
goals,
I'm like, this podcast is also a way for us to hold ourselves accountable to refining that vision of what it should be.
And also being kind of didactic, like this guy says, like didactic about it, right? Where we're kind of like expressing our like viewpoint about how things should be, and like what like good filmmaking looks like, and how to do it, and you know, like, and like also like what's wrong with everything, like why we feel compelled to do what we're doing. I do feel didactic about some things, which I think we're both that's teachers, something that I really welcome. Yes, we like both teach. I really care about teaching, and I value pushback in the way that I think that the comments, and like the fact that the comments are like thinking through things themselves, is also really interesting to me, because it really reminds me of a classroom setting where people are like bouncing ideas back and forth, and I love that kind of environment. So I think that's a really valuable like goal for us in this podcast. I think also no, I agree with everything you said. I think also something I want to talk about today is what I was texting you about with sort of like trying to elucidate the like racial politics of animation as well, like, and kind of like thinking about how Black people were basically the foundations of like cartooning, right? Like in the sense that cartooning in animation specifically is like from a tradition of making fun of Black people in a super racist and dehumanizing way, and then also
the fact that like black people are kind of systematically excluded from animation pretty much all the time forever, like, and like any sort of like pushback to that has been the result of societal like politics in society changing slowly, like, and also I think like, you know, like it's like it literally mirrors like what's happening in real life, right? like also like whenever like something happens racially in America, suddenly black people get shows. Do you know, like it's like, you know, it's like suddenly like that's like how, you know, it's like it's literally tied to how like racial politics between white and black people in America, like it's literally just tied to literally what's going on. And then secondly, the fact that like the animation industry is built on exploited Asian labor overseas. Like it's built on exploitation like anything else in society, in American society, but it's kind of like tying back to
and I think
the
that
thing I was talking about earlier about like secrecy and like
yeah.
about how like it's like hush hush and it's keep your head down. The culture is very keep your head down, don't talk about it. We have all these systemic racial issues within the animation industry that don't get talked about because people are scared of losing their jobs and stuff, right? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and I feel like part of the problem with animation as a medium is also, and I'm using medium as in like a kind of craft. Like I'm using the definition of medium as in like you have to draw one image, and then put it together in order to make an animation. That's how I'm defining medium. The fact that animation as a medium came later than live action, the idea of animation as a narrative form came at a time when industry was already a thing, when things could be mechanized, when there were already huge pipeline factory systems, like that logic pervades animation labor, like the pipeline system, where one person is in charge of line, one person is in charge of roughs, one person's in charge of keyframing, one person's in charge of color and rendering. And you're right, like animation labor historically has been done by like exported to other countries, or even before that coloring was done by women. Like all of the coloring was done by women in the Disney studios who never get credited, but they're like the famous 9 old men who like make all of the keyframing and all of the line and all of the movements.
Like the history of TV animation specifically has always been done with outsourced labor to like global South countries that have been brutalized traditionally by the US. So it's like, I think like feature films and like Disney and whatever also dip their toes in that process, but it's sort of like there's an illusion that a majority of it is done in the States, I think more
in the States, And honestly, I know my friends from Vietnam tell me that their friends work for studios that are working most of the time for Japanese companies. Mm-hmm. So this is not just like an American problem. It definitely is a problem in America, but it isn't isolated to America. And I know that Singapore just came out with a new feature film that's like a co-production between 10 different countries, because the labor cost of doing everything in Singapore is just too high. Like you just wouldn't be able to get a finished film of that quality out in deadline, like under budget, if you did it all in Singapore.
Here's something that I like to push on, because I think people generally say stuff like that, where it's like, well, the only way for it to get done, get to be finished, is if we use exploited workers, right? Like we have to, it's like the only way that we can do it, basically. And for me, how I feel is like, if that's the case, then you shouldn't make it. Like if that's the case, then you shouldn't be doing it.
And,
you know, like if your industry can only sustain itself.
And that's what I feel as well.
With exploitation, it shouldn't exist.
Yeah, and this isn't like housing or anything, you know. It's not like food. It's not something.
It's like it's a total luxury.
And it's not. Yeah, like if this thing that you so desperately want to make can only be made on the backs of like other people, then like maybe we need to change like taste in animation. Maybe we shouldn't be looking for like a 7-step process where each person does one tiny step in order to make a 60-minute film. And I think that that's also why we like keep programming stuff that has $1,000 budget, like $2,000 budget, as opposed to thinking that like you have to make an animated feature for $1 million. Yeah, and at the same time, like, one of the big things that I've been thinking about, okay, we're getting really away from the topic here.
We can also just use some of this, we can use what we're talking about, like, I can just edit it, so it's like, so it, like, happens. Like
okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I've been seeing in Singapore is that there's a real push to develop the animation industry. Like, not just animated works, but animated industry. And part of that is coming up with associations, part of it is coming up with like organizations. It's having like a workforce that is trained, that's skilled, that's ready to do that kind of work. It's having deals come in, it's having external investors come in. And I have to say that like whenever I talk to people from LA, I'm shocked by just the sheer amount of underground stuff that's happening all the time in LA. And part of that is because like they have industry there as well. So I don't know whether it's possible to come up with a rich underground tradition without an industry to support the livelihoods of people who are trying to do this kind of work.
I think probably, 'cause, like when I think about what you're doing in Singapore, and I guess to like other people as well that you're friends with, I'm thinking about like the filmmakers that I know there. I know about the like screenings that you're doing. I'm thinking about like, you know, the stuff that is like underground, right? Like I think the way that would become like an actual scene is just time and energy spent like recruiting people into it, also like sort of like evangelizing almost, right? Like evangelizing which I guess is what you're and me and everyone who's doing stuff there. It's like that's what the kind of the point of it is. That's like, at least for me, when I think about like why we're doing Transfiguration in Singapore, is it's because like we want to foster, we want to like help, we want to like sort of like massage the scene there that's underground and a little bit more like freaky and whatever. We want to like help it get bigger, right? Like I think like what's happening in LA can happen anywhere if there is like real intention behind like massaging the scene and sort of creating like some kind of like emotional scaffolding, right? Like we're thinking about like I think this is happening in Chicago to an extent. I think that like it's happening pretty much anywhere where there's like an independent scene happening. Like slowly like more and more events are happening, more and more screenings are happening, people are talking more and more, you know. It's happening in Baltimore, it's happening in North Carolina, it's happening kind of like, you know, like anywhere where there's filmmakers and people are speaking to each other, right?
Yeah. I think that another thing that we really need is, like, you're right, one of the things that we really need is consistency, and another thing that we really need is space. Like, unfortunately, at the end of the day, like, screening something online is not the same as screening it in person. Like, being able to be in a room with other people is very different than just seeing something through your screen. Another thing that we really run into issues of is consistency. What gets in the way of consistency in Singapore is the fact that everybody has to, like, not has to, because I don't, but I have my family to fall back on. But most people have a full-time job. Like, most people have a full-time job. and most people are just tired out from their full-time jobs, or like spaces get shut down. So like Pearl Hill Terrace, which is the space that you visited when you last came to Singapore, it's slated to get torn down by 2027, which is not like killing the scene, but it does lend a level of precarity where people aren't sure how much to invest in anything, because it could disappear at any time. Like, and there's so much history in Singapore of like spaces being torn down when they hit critical mass, that there's this kind of ambivalence about how much we should be investing in any one thing, because there's the sense that it could be uprooted at any point.
Is it like
so I think
do you
that,
feel like
so
do you think the problem then is like, is it that it's centered in location? Like, do you feel like if it was more like, again, like I think this is also happening probably slightly like with you, where it's like you have like your cult of personality or whatever, right? You have like, or you have like, you're building specific situations with specific people, and that's sort of the draw, right? Like, is it like, are you saying that the spaces themselves are getting torn down, or like literal things are getting shut down, or like what do you mean by that?
I'm saying the spaces themselves are getting torn down. Like, space is such a scarce commodity in Singapore that it's hard to find anywhere that can comfortably house people for a long period of time. I think that space is the issue. Space is the big problem. Yeah, when I think about like all of the spaces that I've encountered in America versus in Singapore versus in a different place, like I feel like in a place like Taiwan, you have the ability, or even in a place like Hong Kong, there's enough shadow that you can have a space that's supported by like a group of normal people. Or in America, you can have just a space that's supported by maybe one church, or like a group of people, or like a group of tenants who decide to live in a house or a building together. But in Singapore, I think that the power is really taken away from individuals. Like, individuals don't have that kind of agency, partially because the housing that all of us live in is public housing that has strict rules around what you can and cannot do in the public house. Whereas like if you wanted to host a house show in Providence, you totally could. You could just open your backyard and like do something with people if you really wanted to. But I think that the access to space is very regulated in Singapore.
I think like I'm thinking about Most Trash Festival, and like that scene of like Chinese animators who are trying to like kind of do what like the kind of thing that we're interested in, I think, in China specifically, but then they're also doing it in Japan as well, and they sort of like have their real life screenings in Japan, I think is what I understood. And on like Bilibili and stuff, like they're doing like you know, and I'm thinking about like how like maybe the answer to the problem that you're saying is like just decentralizing it, or maybe thinking about, because this is also what I've been thinking about too with Transfiguration, is like how do we connect everybody, right? Like all like in my mind, I'm like, okay, my dream would be like to have a situation that like is like always connecting the people in these different scenes in a way that's decentralized, right? And that's why I really want to bring like Asaki to Singapore and you to Japan and everything, and like thinking about like over time, can we like kind of build something that's not centralized, that is about community, that is like in this region. It's in this region, but like kind of in Asia specifically, but it's sort of like for specific people who are aligned in that way. How do we like, and also have language barriers and stuff. It's like, how, like, is there a way for us to like have a situation that like where we're able to all be friends and sort of like have a scene that is like is just not like in a specific place? Because I think this problem is coming up in Asia a lot, I think, right, where it's people want community in this way that we're talking about, but I think there is all these conflicts, especially in places like China and Singapore and like Japan, for various reasons. Like in Japan, it's like there's not that there's like a problem with the space or something, but there's a problem with like maybe getting people to care, or like getting people to care, or getting people to like to participate, or getting people to, the problems are different everywhere, and it's sort of like it's like an interesting problem to think about.
The good thing is in Singapore, I don't find the problem of caring to be a barrier, to be the biggest issue. Like
people really care. People really care there.
Everyone really cares. People care too much.
Yeah,
people take it too seriously. It's like
that's kind of how I felt really, like when we screened my movie. Like when we screened my movie, I remember like the people who didn't like it still really cared and were like stressed out about not understanding it. They're like really like their brains were churning and they're trying so hard to like to still like, do you know what I mean? It's
still like understand it. Singapore is like an incredibly like, and I think that this is also something that I have realized after being here for like a year and a half again, is that I'm finally starting to understand and like feel my place in Singapore. And Singapore is just so earnest. Like it's just such an earnest place. Like people are just like 100% sincere all the fucking time. It's crazy style. It's like so so you're right, it's like the problems are different everywhere. But I remember I brought this up at first because I was like, having an industry does protect people enough that they can kind of do a lot of other stuff in the cracks. Like I was talking to this French animator who was like, we have a studio together and we get commercial deals and we get funding from the CNC, and the CNC like regularly funds everyone, and if you do 500 hours in any industry, you get paid time off for up to a year. If you get you get not paid time off, you get unemployment for like a year. And like
because they live in
that kind of
magic land. They live in a little magic land. They live in little fairy.
Yeah, I was like,
fairy.
This is. Yeah, I'm like that's why there's so like, and I was like, oh yeah, all my friends are thinking of going back to grad school, and he was like, why? To make another student film, and I was like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, these guys are living a totally different life because they have what we can't buy with just our own effort, which is like ease of mind. Like they have like the ease of mind that if they don't have a job for 2 or 3 months, they're not gonna starve. And I really, that's also, so I don't, and at the same time I'm also like, but what's that being built off of? Like, what does that, is that worth
like,
it? What does that
I
take?
would like to like be able to like understand that situation critically, right? Like I would be able, like to be able to, when he says that, know what the circumstances are and who they had to hurt to get it to be that way. You know, like, because I don't think it's like it's gonna be all squeaky clean if you look at it for like a magnifying glass, right? In a lot of Europe, it is also similarly with the U.S., where it's built on like exploitation of like global South people, right? Like it's like just literally like that's what like any of these countries that are experiencing like this sort of wealth or this sort of like, you know, like. It's also historical that these countries are colonial anyway, but it's sort of like this is also what I want the thing that I'm trying, and I can explain this better later, I feel like, but it's like thinking about the history of colonialism in Asia with regards to the situation of like the service studios and everything, right? The like the exploitated workers and whatever, and how like it's not just animation, obviously, where this type of practice is happening. This is happening in a lot of different industries, and it's because like the U.S. and Japan literally brutalized all of Asia for like most of the last century, right? So it's kind of like, and thinking about how like, you know what I mean? Like it's like there's not like it's not like it's just like that. It's literally it's like it's the U.S. like with Korea, the U.S. and Japan fucked Korea crazy style for literally half a century, and then now they're supposed to just suddenly be like totally like have their own industry or whatever. But no, like obviously it's not going to happen. Of course, like their money is not worth that much. Of course, like it's because of what they did. It's not because of it's because of what the U.S. and Japan did. It's not because their dollar is just worth less naturally or something. Do you know? Like it's like it's not like they're like it's like. I go crazy because I'm like, it's literally like the reason these industries are this way is because of like the historical context. It's not because like it just randomly.
And I was thinking about how like France, part of the reason why they have such a good life is because of their labor movements. Like because their labor movements succeeded in places where other countries like shut it down in order to enter the global economy. Like, I think about how in Singapore, we just had Workers Make Possible. We just had our Labor Day rally, which, like, I think 1,500 people showed up to, which is a great number. So I hope that it continues on
it's
like this.
Half of the population of Singapore. Just kidding.
that's like 50% of all of Singapore. But I was also recently watching like a bunch of old videos from when Singapore was just becoming independent, and they like shut down a huge number of worker strikes. Like for a while, all of the pilots didn't want to fly the planes because they wanted better working conditions, they wanted better hours, and the Prime Minister of Singapore came out and was like, I will fire all of you and start from scratch if I have to. So get back to your jobs, be reasonable, and we can discuss this like adults. Like, like the silencing of the labor movement in Singapore, I think really contributed to this sensation that we're helpless, that like this is what we have to do in order to survive. And not just that, but also like the fact that, well, this is too much to get into, but we'll talk about this another time. Like the fact that the labor movements were also tied to the Chinese-speaking like union groups, and the Chinese-speaking laborers, and that coinciding with the shutdown of Nanda, which was the publicly funded like people's university, in order to replace it with the English-speaking university, and now everybody speaks English. Like all of those lines also need to be connected, and that's also like paralleling Singapore's emergence in the global economy and becoming competitive in the global economy by positioning ourselves as a gateway into Asia as Asian people who speak English. So like all of those things are like lines of Singapore history that can be drawn, and then we can take that framework and like put it into animation and think about how that applies to the industry of animation. But
it's like I was reading the Jakarta Method, like the which is just that book about what the U.S. was doing in Indonesia and South America and a few other places, just with like communism was rising, and they like basically like, you know, shut it down in really merciless and insane ways, and how like this is just like a part of the history, right? Just a part of the history of like how
Okay, wait, but did we address what we wanted to address with this comment?
No.
I think that I want to address like 2 points with this comment.
Okay.
Or
Which
not even 2 points. I think I want to address one big point about this comment, which is that I think that the biggest qualm that I have with this comment, and the biggest like area that I also think I need more information, is what is the history of animation becoming a genre. Like, I don't personally know how animation came to become a genre. Like, that's not something that I understand. I don't really know.
I think it's
I understand how it's a medium.
Yeah, I think what it is that
I don't know the specific histories.
I think what the problem actually is, or the problem that like these directors are sort of trying to pinpoint, is that is treated like a genre. I think that's what they mean. Is like they're sick of like animation being treated like a genre. In that the assumption of like Academy voters or something that like Boss Baby and Rango are the same movie or like that, like because one's for babies and one's for adults. That's kind of and they're like, and animation can be an adult medium. And by the way, they're making baby movies still. They're making Zootopia 2, they're making Pinocchio, they're making baby movies. But they want to basically say animation can do anything. It's a medium, not a genre. It's not that it actually is a genre or that anyone actually ever said that. It's just that they feel that it's being treated that way with like best animated film or something, right? That's literally all it is. It's not actually there's a history of it actually being considered a genre. It's just that these guys are like insecure about seeming like babies. That's literally all it is. It's like
yeah, that's true. And I think therefore the question that we really wanted to ask is it useful to have categories like this, or does it just entrench historical divisions and
that's the number one that we're addressing.
Yeah.
Is do we want
where
a
our
different
biggest question
categorization
is,
completely?
Yeah. Yes, it's like, do these categorizations, are they useful to what we believe in, or do they just further entrench existing hierarchies? Yeah, that we disagree with.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think the thing I want to address is sort of him bringing up Marshall McLuhan, and like the medium being the message and stuff. And I want to sort of think about maybe what I want to say. I have his book right here actually. I'm just going to read the paragraph that I highlighted. Arnold Toynbee made one approach to the transforming power of media and his concept of etherealization, which he holds to be the principle of progressive simplification and efficiency in any organization or technology. Typically, he is ignoring the effect of the challenge of these forms upon the response of our senses. He imagines that it is the response of our opinions that is relevant to the effect of media and technology in society, a point of view that is plainly the result of a typographic spell. For the man in illiterate and homogenized society ceases to be sensitive to the diverse and discontinuous life of forms. He acquires the illusion of the third dimension and the private point of view as part of his narcissist fixation, and is quite shut off from Blake's awareness or that of the psalmist that we become what we behold.
No, that really makes sense, because the whole paragraph is talking about how these categorizations are culturally entrenched, and the more we try to simplify all of the nuance in each category, the more we lose sight of what is actually real, of the discontinuous forms that these pieces actually take on.
Exactly. Because it's like, there's this quote, I think it's from this guy, Jiddu Krishnamurti. He talks about how, like, the mountain is not the described, like, the description and the mountain are separate. Like, they're, like, you can describe the mountain, but you're, like, missing the actual mountain with your description. Or, like, you can paint a picture of a mountain, or you can, or you can, like, you can give the mountain a name, but the mountain is not the name.
Yeah.
The mountain is the mountain. The mountain exists as what it is without that forced containment that is sort of like arbitrary to what it is. Like like the mountain doesn't need that description to be the mountain, right? Like the mountain will always be there.
Yeah.
Right?
And also the descriptions that we use to box in what a mountain can be are like culturally specific.
You know, you can do whatever you want, right? You can do whatever you want with like how you describe something, but at the end of the day, it's still the same thing, regardless of what context you give it or what kind of what description you give it, right?
Yes, and that's also why I feel like whenever people ask me what I do, I don't say I'm an artist or I don't say I'm a filmmaker. I say I'm an animator, because animation does carry this sensation that it's for babies. Like animation, oh, you're like play pretend, it's for babies. And then I just am the person that I am, where I don't know shit about Adventure Time, I don't know shit about Pixar, I don't know anything about like any of those things, but I continue to call myself an animator. Because I want people to contend, because I want to lower people's guards. I want people's guards to be lowered when they encounter me.
But it's also, at the end of the day, that's just what you are.
Yeah,
like,
and then
it's like,
I want
regardless
them to be
of
confused.
Regardless of their associations of what animation is, you are what you are, and you make the work that you make. And I think, like, the premise that this work is for babies or for adults or in the middle somewhere is a totally arbitrary distinction, right? Like, it's like something, like, it's like, at the end of the day, it's just art. Like, it's just something that you've made that is, like, sitting there. It's sitting there collecting dust, and it's like an object, right? It's like, it's an object that you can view as a baby or as an adult. You're gonna get, like, whatever reaction you get, but the point of the process was for you to express yourself and to express, like, your point of view, right? It's like a completely different approach than I am making a movie for a baby or I am making a movie for an adult. You're going, I am making this movie because I'm expressing something sincere from the soul of my soul, right? Like, it's like not like it's not like it's like it's just that wasn't a distinction that you made mentally. But these guys, these Pixar guys, they're going, we're being told that we're making work for babies because essentially we are. Babies are our main audience, but we feel insecure about that. We feel insecure about it because we're grown men and we feel uncomfortable. Something I read recently, really interesting in Daisy Yandu's book, was that in China, animation was viewed as like completely feminized. Like, it was a completely feminine art form, and like pretty much the main animation directors, especially in socialist China, were women, and like there were like only a few men involved with like animation in China for a long time because it was viewed as feminine, and it was viewed as like a emasculating, like if a man were to animate, it would make him less of a man or something. Like, it's like which is like amazing. That's like, it's so random. It's like so like it's like what specifically happened to make that like cultural mental idea happen. And it's interesting because it's like it doesn't make any sense. Same thing with the baby and the adult thing. It's an arbitrary category. It's just that like animation ended up being something that you put on an iPad for your baby. It just became like it's like so then like the associations are because of where it found its like place in society, right? It's not because it's inherently for babies. It's just that that it showed it like eventually became the iPad thing or whatever, or became like Curious George or like Sword in the Stone. I don't know, like. You know what I mean? It's just like the audience happened to be children. I know that part of this is because I know that part of this happened because children loved cartoons. Like, cartoons, children animated films made more money than anything else in America. So then they started making animation pretty much exclusively for kids. And then they had the censorship board, and the censorship board was aware of the fact that mostly children watched animation, so they became extremely strict with what could be shown in cartoons and what couldn't. So that further entrenched animation as something that was for children in America. It's interesting too because the people who are complaining are people who work in that tradition specifically. They are people who knew what they were getting into, by the way. When they went to Cal Arts, when they went to Pixar or whatever, when they went to Disney, they were aware of what the associations people have are, and yet even though they've willingly put themselves in this box, they decided, I'm going to be a part of the baby industry for making movies for babies. I'm going to be insecure about it. And I'm going to, it's like, why be insecure? You decided that this is what you want to do with your life, and you decided to waste it. You better get over it. Because it's like, why are you making it everyone else's problem that you're insecure that you make movies for babies? You fundamentally do. Your movies mainly get watched by babies. That's why nobody at the Academy wants to watch them, is because all they know is that their babies watch your movies. They don't want to watch their babies' movies. Sorry. It's like asking the Academy to watch Barney. I don't care how special Barney is. The Academy members who want to watch adult movies, and you don't make adult movies. You make fucking Ratatouille. Which at the end of the day is a PG movie. It's literally for a family audience, for babies. What's going to happen is your movie's going to go on Netflix and be watched by babies for the rest of time. That's just how it works. So you better get over it or shut up. Something that I didn't address that I want to is oh my god, what were we talking about? What was...
Wow. Hosting a podcast is hard.
Yeah, it's actually kind of easy, but...
Oh,
I think
great.
It's I
take it back. I never said anything.
This is 10:30 p.m. on a Monday after I've been working all day, which is the problem for me. That's okay. I don't mind it. I wish with all my heart. Did you watch Dragon Tales when you were a kid? No, because you were in Singapore.
No.
It was a PBS show. PBS kids show.
I did watch Barney when I was a kid.
You guys watched Goodbye Forever Party at your screening?
At
Megan's screening.
At the screening, at the labor screening, at Megan's screening. Yes, we watched Goodbye Forever Party. I thought it was great. I was like, yeah, I thought it was great. I love the we talked a lot about hiding and revealing the construction of animation, how so much of the labor of animation goes into hiding the construction of it. And a lot of people talked about how they love the white tails of the paper and the fact that they could see the paper change shape around the drawing because it revealed the process that it took to make that specific animation and that specific movement.
It's interesting because that move that you're describing was a really hard decision to make at the time. It was because pretty much everyone was telling me to mask it out. Everyone was like, you got to get rid of that tail. It's it's going to be super fugly and you're going to look really stupid if you keep that in. And basically I remember I was kind of wrestling with that for a long time. Do I keep it in? Do I take it out? Because for me, it wasn't really about the labor of taking it out or whatever. That wasn't really the problem. It was more that I liked the way that it looked. And I felt I also liked that it revealed how it was made, or it always kind of gave you this separation from the narrative because you're always being reminded of the film's construction and that it's paper, right? That was a really exciting premise to me of constantly reminding you, even though that this film is very emotional or whatever, it's always reminding you that it's paper by its form.
Yeah. So that's what I found really interesting, and it's also extremely different from the way that I work, because when I make a film, I'm trying to get the audience to not think about me at all. I'm I don't exist, which is a much more standard way of making a film, because when you make a film, you don't read a blurb or anything when you go in. You just go into the film and you watch it, and the film should say exactly everything it needs to tell you in the film itself. It's made by an it's like made by God hands. It's not like other forms of visual art where you like hear about the process or some shit. It's like you're not meant to see any of that. So I think that is really interesting because you manage to make a film that is so, like, you can see the edge of it so much, and yet that people feel emotional when they watch it. So I think that's a really tricky thing to do. Maybe one day we can talk about it. But I don't think that that's easy at all. I think that it's very hard to let the audience see the construction and still make them feel something.
Yeah. But I also think that the fact that people get emotional while they're watching that, I would say it's actually probably the one that people like the most a lot of the time, which I am frustrated by because it was the first thing I made that was like serious or whatever. Like I have kind of like a frustration that people like resonate with that one the most still, even though I made it when I was like a kid or whatever. But like I do think that it proves that that it's kind of just about the storytelling rather than anything else, right? Like it's about how you're actually telling the story, and like any sort of like it's about the actual like the meat of the story rather than the way it looks, right? And I think that was sort of the thesis of what I was thinking about at the time, was like I was spending like a lot of work
first.
Yeah, so at the time I like slaved over that. Okay. Like at the time I worked really, really hard on the story. It was like really like something that I was like trying to dial in like specific ways. Like I was like trying to think about how to make it as emotional and whatever as possible. It was like a thing that I was thinking like really hard about. But I think it's not really my process anymore. My process now is like a lot more loose, but I think at the time it was a lot more like I'm gonna work really hard on the story and then kind of do whatever with the animation and it'll be fine.
Yeah, and it shows. I think that it definitely knows what its strength is. Whenever I encounter a student, the first thing that I'm trying to figure out is what are you good at? Like what is what are you good at grasping hold of? Because what you like is not necessarily what you're good at. I love watching a story. God, I could not write a story for shit. I'm like, that's not how my brain works. I like start with an image, and that's regularly, like whenever I try to force myself to write a story first, it just falls flat. I like don't know how to move it. I don't know how to move forward. I have to start with an image, and then I build a story around it. But whenever I encounter a student, that's one of the first things I try to figure out. I'm like, what are you good at doing? Are you good at images? Are you good at dialogue? Are you good at story beats? Are you good at, like, what are you good at? Are you good at rhythm? Where's the overlap between what you're interested in and what you're good at? And I think that way of working will also allow people to know which corners they can cut. Because if not, right, you're just faced with this huge behemoth of a task that you're never going to be able to finish, and you're never going to get a film out. But if you can understand like what the heart of your work is, then you can cut around it without losing what makes it good.
I think that's what is kind of tragic about a lot of students, is that their interests and what they're good at don't ever align. Like, like there's kind of like a lot of students that I encounter who have really specific goals because like they, but then they're like really inept at accomplishing those goals, and because they're inept at accomplishing those goals, they think that they're a bad artist, or they think that they're like not like because they're not able to do what they see. I've seen people do that they admire or whatever. But I think actually this is kind of the trick of being a teacher, right? Is like you're trying to help them see the actual path that would fit them. And a lot of the time
Like,
yeah,
when
we're
they're
trying
really,
to help them see the worth in their own work.
Yeah.
Which
and a lot
honestly
of time they're
is a
missing the
lot
whole
harder for
path.
students to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're missing the whole path because they don't believe you when you say that this is a path that is worthwhile, which is why we do Transfiguration.
Yeah. It's sort of like
Yeah.
in this kind of era right now that we're in, where all these like really these like arts programs are getting canceled or whatever, and like everything is about profit and about like making industry people or whatever, even though the industry's dying. But it's like everything is kind of about removing these like art driven programs and sort of like replacing them with like corporate bullshit. It's kind of like, it's depressing for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is that like a lot of people don't understand that like there's a much larger pool of like things to draw inspiration from and like types of work to make, and that they don't have to be like making Steven Universe or making Has Been Hotel again or something, right? There's like that if they were to see more things, they would be able to like think in different ways.
Yeah, and that's also, I think, what I mean when the commenter is like, oh, this hypothetical person in Arrested Development who watches Adventure Time. Like, I'm not slamming people who like Adventure Time. Like, I would probably like it if I watched it, you know? It's not like I don't like feature-length blockbuster films. I think that they have their place. I think that some of them are really good. But I think when you're trying to make work, if that's the only work that you've seen, it arrests your development. You're probably like 9 times out of 10 not going to be able to do what Adventure Time does, because you don't have that kind of budget and you don't have that kind of team, time, energy to be able to do that. Very few people can do what Adventure Time is doing. And if that's the only kind of work that you're consuming, you're limiting yourself in realizing the kind of work you can make. And I think that that's where I'm coming from, is that at the end of the day, I want people to understand the worth of what they can make. That's really what I feel like limits people's development if they only watch Adventure Time.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this actually, because and you know, it's quite deep for me, right? Where I think about how, like, for me, my specific career, right? Like, I think I was a mega fan of specifically Adventure Time throughout all of high school. I like kind of grew up with the show. Like, I was the same age to the character, and like like I was like it was a really big deal for me when it was coming out, right? And I specifically was seeking a career to basically be in that same like as we were talking about like last week, like lineage of like there's a lot of different lineages of like and specific scenes within animation, and I was trying to be a part of this like Adventure Time thing. And literally I had like the pilot that I got was like at the same studio that the pilot for Adventure Time was made by this like with the same producers, made with the same like types of production style and everything. And specifically like the people who were encouraging me were my like idols, right? Like the reason I got that position at a young age was like they weren't sure if they wanted to have an 18-year-old make a cartoon or whatever, but then they had like Natasha Allegri look at what I had pitched, and then she was like a really huge advocate for me, and that was like the reason why I even got it, was because I had these people who were I idolized, were like kind of like becoming my like cheerleaders or whatever, right? And so that was literally, and I was being told kind of consistently by people in that situation, like the producers and everything, that like my work sort of like is in that, like literally that's just like how we were conceptualizing it almost, right? Was like my work exists in this like in this like situation. And for me, like, even though like that is like really cool, I think there's also an element of like, if I hadn't like started to be like influenced by other things besides that, like if I like, for like example, when I got to film school, when I got to Cal Arts, I was like really heavily inspired by live action film and like specific live action films I was watching, and then also like my diet was like experimental work, and was like there's a lot of different things that I was taking in that were like influencing what I was doing. And then also I was experimenting on my own and finding my own voice through trial and error, and sort of like trying to make work that wasn't like that, right? Like I was trying to like, and that was how I was able to develop my own voice, was through all this experimentation and being influenced by other things. If I had stayed as like, all I like is Adventure Time, all I like is like Cartoon Network shows or something, like that's all I ever watch and that's all I ever do, I would have never developed my own voice and developed my own sensibility and style, and I would have basically just like stayed as this like person who doesn't like think critically about what I'm doing. I just want to do that. And I think that like it's really important to, even if you are within that scene or something, even if that's what your goal is, to differ, like not idolize it, not view it as like the end all be all. Because if I had done that too, I wouldn't have become like an independent filmmaker. If I had stayed in that situation, I wouldn't have like made the changes in my career that made me the like artist that I am now. I would have probably just done the same thing that they all did, and I never would have like branched off and figured out what I was actually wanting to do and everything. And it's kind of like it's just like they're like, you gotta like leave Baby Town at some point. And not to say that like Adventure Time, like, or any of these shows, any like anything like, you know, Pixar or whatever, like all these things, not saying that like they're bad or something, like it's just that like it's like at some point you need to leave Baby Town. You need to leave the things that are like the things that are the first things to inspire you or something. You need to like eventually branch off. You need to like fly away from them and like try to make your own ground instead of like like forever regurgitating the same stuff, you know.
Yeah. And I also think that, you know, if that's the only kind of stuff you can imagine, then of course there's no alternative to animation industry.
Yeah.
Of course. You're not going to be able to make a film outside of animation industry. Yeah. I think that that's the real kicker, is that you can look outside and then at the end of the day be like, all right, but this is still what I want to do. And then I would be like, okay, cool, whatever, but like then you can't say you can only make a feature film with $1 million budget. Then that's a choice that you're doing, that you're making. And I feel like the same is true when I look at work in my scene as well, in like the scene that I work in. I'm also aware of like the shortcomings, the limitations, the pitfalls that come with this. Like the fact that people tend to only ever make one student film. The fact that people don't build on that artistic perspective. The fact that like the scene is dominated by like 15 people who like all are in the same place. The fact that we don't know like how to bring this to people who are not living in a center that has a school. The fact that like the same 25 films get into every festival that we see. The fact that we don't have mass distribution reach. We don't have like the ability to reach as many people as I would like. We don't have enough reach to be able to tell people about the things that we're doing that are cool, that would like bring people into the scene without the backing of an institution. Like these are all things that I also think about when I think about the scene that I'm in. And like these are also the questions that we grapple with. But they're questions that I encounter with knowledge that these are the pitfalls, that these are the shortcomings of the strategy I've picked. Yeah.
Yeah, like I also think about like using the scenes that we're a part of as like as things to inform our work both in an inspirational way and then also in a critical way, right? Like, how do we take the lessons we're learning from the films that we're inspired and not inspired by, or both, or whatever? How do we take those lessons? How do we take lessons from those things in our own work, right? Like, how do we think about?
Yeah.
How do we think about like how to actually learn from the scenes that we're in, right? Like, how do we?
Yeah.
You know, like,
how can we,
I
like,
think
pool knowledge to like push the medium further? How can we like bounce off of one another? Yeah. Which
I think
is
a lot
why
of the time, like, people
really,
are too regurgitating, right? Like, they're too much like regurgitating the same, you know, sort of like moves and gestures over and over, and like forget that.
Which is why I want to hear, that like something else exists, and it doesn't have to be something hugely different, but even a small like change makes a really significant difference, which is why last week when we talked about 1-1, I was so emotional about it, because I really feel like that's like the pool of knowledge that I was contributing to and that I was drawing from. Which is why I'm interested to hear from you why you love bootstrapping so much, because I don't have that same like affection towards it, even though I recognize it as an excellent film. Like, I recognize it as a great film, it's super good, but I don't have that same like visceral reaction as you do.
Yeah, I guess, so the film that we want to talk about this week is Bootstrapping for the Movie by Stella Chen. I first encountered this at the SAIC Film and Video Showcase, basically. So this was a few years ago at this point, I think like in 2024. Yeah, or no, actually 2025, I think. It was in the screening before my film. And I had never met Stella, and I was sort of, I think my experience of the animation work at SAIC a lot of the time is very lackluster, to be honest. Not that I like there's a lot of very talented filmmakers who go there, but I'm speaking more about the undergraduate film. This is an undergraduate film, by the way. I was in the master's program, which I think has a more maybe higher standard of quality, whereas the undergraduate program there, I think, is a lot looser and produces a lot more work that I'm not super interested in. And there was a lot of like good films in the ones that I saw, but I think I was really just not interested in a lot of them. But then Stella's came on, and it like was kind of shocking. It was kind of like a shocking experience for me, because formally it's so it stood out completely from everything else, because a lot of the time student films right now are really interested in slickness, maybe. Like, they're interested in a certain like standard of quality being met or something, and they're also very like kind of shooting for a cleanness.
Looking finished. Looking
so if something is
clean,
CGI, for example, like the goal will usually be a sort of like a slick, kind of glossy whatever, and it'll be really boring. And I think when Stella's came on, her film is specifically meant to like deconstruct CGI, like complete like CGI animation. Like the form is like the medium, the message or whatever is meant to literally deconstruct the process of making a CGI student film. So you can see all the rigs there. You can see the really blatant like UV mapping or whatever. You can see kind of like, I'm not a CGI person, but I have like a little bit of background with it in like high school and stuff. So everything she was doing I recognized, because it's kind of like what you see when you're in the program or whatever, right? It's like you see all the rigs, you see all the like, all the like unfinished textures or whatever. And kind of the point of what she was doing was like playing with that look specifically, like trying to push the like what she could do with this sort of like almost like low poly aesthetic, right? And a lot of low poly work right now is really like stupid. Like it's meant to be nostalgic and it's meant to be like so you know, and so the seeing this film that's a low poly in an intentional way to basically like to basically try to create a really specific emotional feeling for the character was really such a strong and such a strong move for a student to be making. And then also like the film is literally talking about what we were talking about earlier, where like it's like Stella's character, so it's like an autobiographical film about Stella's experience being an animation student, and she like, and it's literally her like addressing the other animation students and going like it's been 4 years and you still only cite Cartoon Network as your inspiration. Can you grow up, please? Like there's like these moments where it's like she's literally like in a meta way, like saying all her problems that I also have with a lot of the work that I've been seeing. And I'm like, this is crazy that I'm watching this in a theater next to all these other student films. And like, it's also like, it's so unique and it's so interesting and it's so like, you know, it's so from a specific person's voice and like a really honed style. And I was just so impressed by it so quickly, for so many reasons. I think it's really, again, like it's just rare to see someone, especially students, especially undergraduate students, making, well, you know, it's like, I can say that, but it's kind of like hard to explain like why that's rare. But there's a lot of students who aren't interested in making really huge swings, right? Like who are really trying to stick to the bare minimum, to the status quo, to like trying to make as little of a splash as possible in the hopes of getting a job or something. And this was so anti getting a job. This was so like talking about piss, talking about like, you know, like there's like a 2-minute sequence of her like of her jacking off with her like it was so like it was literally like, again, like we're in art school, so it isn't like a shocking context to experience that type of work in, but it's just the context of an animation student specifically doing this, where it was like like
totally,
you know, it was really like it was like seeing someone take a giant swing, like on so many levels, like on pretty much every level. It was like breaking windows, like in like a figurative sense. Like it's like watching someone go like I don't care, I'm gonna make exactly what I want and I'm not going to like let anyone stop me, basically. And it was so I think this film is great on a lot of levels, but that's I think my experience of it really plays into it, right?
Totally. Yeah, I think that we both do really enjoy it when people take a huge swing at something. And part of that is also because you can only take a huge swing if you understand the context that you're working in, if you know what's come before, if you know what's around you, if you know what's being made right now, which is why both of the works that we talk about, Wan Wan and Bootstrapping, are so specific to the context that they're made in, because I think that in order to take a huge swing, you have to be responding to something specific, which is also one of the big pitfalls of experimental animation that I see, which is that people stop making work post-graduation. Like, people stop pushing the form post-graduation, so then the best pieces often come from students because there's like a hotbed of people making work like that in school. But then, what about after? What comes after that? Like, how do we like continue responding to the context that we continue to be in now that we're graduated, now that everybody's like out of school? So I think
really,
that
it's making me think about when we were talking about cultivating like the scene before, right? Where it's like, it's really about like evangelizing or like trying to keep people in and trying to like encourage them or something, and like trying to provide some kind of like, you know, because it is hard. It's like my favorite filmmakers, all the ones I can think of from when I was an undergrad to now, all the ones that like every filmmaker that I've been super excited about, a majority of them, maybe not all of them, but a majority of them never make a film again after graduation. Like, you're right. Like, it's like it's, and that's like a 10-year long period, right? Like, I'm like, a majority of the films and the filmmakers that I was excited about just stopped making films completely and just became like, just like kind of, which like in a sense is like, okay, like that's all right. Like, you don't need to keep making films forever if you don't want to. But it's also like, for me, I'm like, what if you want to and you're not able to? And that's usually that's usually why that happens. It's like
the problem.
They just can't find a way.
The problem. Like, I know so many people who want to make a film who never end up making their films because they just get like sidetracked, or they like have to get a job, or they like have to move cities, or they have to do this. Their energy gets taken up by other things. It's just so difficult. It's so difficult to make a film without school keeping everything else out. But that's also why I really, really want people to make their work outside of school. I really want us to like, and even if it's bad, like bad work is great as well. Like, just make the bad work. Put it out into the world. I want to see it. Because
sometimes I'm like, sometimes it's like, don't make the bad work though. Sometimes I see
sometimes
bad.
It's like, don't make the bad work.
Sometimes it's like, for really the wrong people are doing that.
Bad.
But
but
sorry, I've seen some real bad ones recently. I was like,
okay, real. I'm thinking about like my friends and co-conspirators Tofu House. I'm thinking about like Tofu House. I'm thinking about like the people who made I Think I'm Gonna Die in Singapore. I'm thinking about like Valerie Theodas in Singapore. I'm thinking about like all the like cool young animators who are on the verge of graduation or have just graduated, and I'm so scared that they never make a film again.
That's kind of the thing with like Transfiguration, where it's like, I really hope that it encourages like the people that we're curating to keep making work. That's like kind of the main goal of it, I guess. Like, my number one goal would be like encourage the filmmakers that we're showing to keep doing things, because like so many people just stop. But then it's like it's, I don't know, like I think about other situations. I think about like even like festivals that give out grants or whatever to like, I think it's cool to have that happening where you're literally funding people to make more work. But then a lot of the time what happens is those people don't finish it even if they have money. It's like that necessarily isn't even a way to do it. It's like, it's literally like either you have the energy or you don't. And I guess it's like about finding the people with the energy to keep going, kind of. But it's like so sad.
Yeah, I know.
There were so many people.
That's my biggest problem with experimental animation, is that it's so tied to like being in a school. Like, we can't seem to figure out a way to make more work outside of it. Yeah. But you know, that's a larger problem than you or me. That's not something that we can solve ourselves.
It's not something we can fix in any way. I think it's probably good to like stop wishing, because that's never gonna happen.
Yeah, we have to be realistic. We can only do so much.
I feel like but with Stella's work, it's
but I love bootstrapping. I love bootstrapping. I think that it's a great piece. I think that it's so
precisely responding to its situation, to the time and to the place that it's being made in. It's so, like, I watch it and I know it's America. Like, and I think that also reveals what a good film is to me. Like, if I watch something, can I understand where you're from? Like, do I see which cultural well you're drawing from? Am I convinced by it? And I'm convinced by Stella because I watch her work and I'm like, this is an American film, which not enough films do. Like, not enough films are like, I'm a French film, I'm an American film, which sometimes works, but I think that if a film manages to reveal that to its audience, it is a beautiful thing.
Well, I think that's
I
also...
was also really...
like,
yeah?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Nothing.
No, what were you going to say? Sorry. I feel like it wasn't...
Oh, that's why I was actually really surprised that Bootstrapping got the reception that it did in Singapore, where people loved it. Like, people really loved Bootstrapping in Singapore. And I was worried about it for a second because I was watching it and I was like, this is responding to such a specific context in American art school that I'm like, are people gonna resonate with it? Are people gonna get it? Are people gonna, like, understand the jokes? Are people gonna, like, be turned off by it? But it really resonated. Like, it won an award in Singapore, and everyone came up to me and they were like, wow, I love that last film, it was so crazy. So I think it also just speaks to how being specific does resonate. Like, being specific, people will be able to understand it better than if you were super vague and you were like, anybody could have made this. No, only Stella in that context, in that place, in that school, in, like, BFA graduation, could have made this particular film.
Yeah. I think maybe the universality of it is sort of because I think she's, like, also speaking to, like, she's also speaking to a really specific malaise that I think a lot of people feel, and especially when I was in Singapore, I think a lot of people, I think, feel this way, where it's like being overwhelmed by work or being overwhelmed by, like, by the culture, by what people are telling. This is kind of what your film is about, actually, but I'm thinking there's actually kind of a parallel in Bootstrapping in the film that you're making, where I'm thinking about how, like, this film is specifically about Stella feeling like this, like, hustle culture, this sort of like be divine white feminine goddess thing, right? She's, like, sort of critiquing this, like, girl boss like mentality that she sees kind of present in, like, in a lot of, like, straight cis white women culture, and sort of going, like, underlining why she feels excluded from it, even though she might try to be approaching it, she feels excluded by it, and how, like like, there's this, like, you know, like, someone can be demanding you to, like, to make all these changes to your life or to conform in a certain way, and, like, it still can fall flat. Like, you know, like, you can, like, try your best to sort of, like, try and conform to that, but you'll never achieve it because it wasn't made for you, it wasn't built for you or something, right? And I can kind of see a parallel with the film that you're making, where it's like this guy, I think, like, I won't explain your own film to you, but I feel like thinking about the arc of it, it feels similar or calling to a certain thing that is present in Singapore, maybe, like, the Singaporean equivalent to what Stella is, like, talking about, maybe. And I think I saw a lot of it in Singapore. I think, like, a lot of, like, that, like, kind of mentality of feeling overwhelmed by what society is asking you to achieve.
Yeah. I think that I'll keep making films like this as long as I'm in Singapore, because the vibe is just so strong. Like, the vibe is permeating. Like, the vibe of, like, everybody being like, well, this is what we have to do. It like permeates everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I'll probably, yeah, and that's also why I like Vacation, I think.
Yeah.
Vacation by
yeah.
Ethan Jahn and James Mercer.
Yeah.
Vacation is the same film as the one I'm making right now.
And that bootstrapping.
And so is Kate. Yeah, and so is Bootstrapping for the Movie, and so is Cage Match, and so is that one Taiwanese film that we saw for Slam Dance this year. That Taiwan director. It was like just scenes of a guy. Anyway, lots of films about this.
Oh yeah, I think I think it's a universal thing right now. Is feeling like society is asking for too much from an individual, and like in burnout, and like feeling, like I think it is a very universal feeling right now throughout the world.
Yes, but not for all of you watching this, because you're feeling so loved and held by both of us right now.
I don't know if that's what we're doing.
Okay, maybe you feel this way as well. Maybe you feel this way even while you're watching this. Well, that's all I have to say for this week. What do you have to say, Joni?
Hopefully I can edit this into something that makes sense.
Do you think films should be shorter?
And here's what I would say. I think that the length should be found. I don't think the length should be anything specific. I think every film should be exactly as long as it should be. You need to find it. Like doing. And I would like working with clay. It's like it's done when it's done. It's the piece when it's the piece.
Yes. And see, I would answer, no, films shouldn't be shorter, but yours probably should.
Yeah.
Like every time.
I agree.
Yeah. Like on the whole,
they should,
no. But if you're in the middle of making a film, make it 20% shorter.
Yeah. Here's what, I think... Wow, we're doing it again.
Okay, we're getting distracted again. Again. Let's end this session.
Okay. So, bye everybody. Thanks for watching if you watched that.
Bye.
And next time we'll be more concise. Sorry.
Yes. Sorry. Bye-bye.